Mental health is talking about the ability to regulate your mind in such a way that you can utilize it effectively. I'll say this again. When you talk about mental health, you're not talking about someone that is sick. That's someone that has to be in hospital, has to be hospitalized, or someone that has mental health, is mentally ill. That's not what mental health is about. When we're talking about mental health, yes, there are some people that have chronic mental illness. But generally, when you hear about mental health, it's like when you hear about physical health. So when you hear about physical health, what comes to mind? What comes to mind is the fact that I need to keep my body healthy. I need to eat right. I need to exercise. I need to, just understand how to keep my body healthy. That's what mental health is. So you see, the reality is that we were taught in school about our bodies. We were taught in school, about, how to get an education, how to become something in life. That we talked about the groups of food. So they talked about carbohydrates, they talked about protein, and that if you eat this food, it's beneficial to you. We were taught about how to keep our environment clean, saying things like maybe you should take your bath like twice a day, or you should brush your teeth twice a day. And that is how you can keep your body healthy and optimal. But the reality is that we were never taught how to keep our minds healthy. A lot of us in Africa and a lot of us in Nigeria were never taught about emotional intelligence or emotional wellness. We're never taught about how our feelings would come and how we could manage them. We were never taught about the fact that things happen to us and it affects our mind. So what can we do about it when things happen to us? We're never taught. So when you talk about mental health, it's just a mental strategy. Another word for mental health is your mental plan, your mind plan, your mind hack, or your mind strategy. That means, how do I keep my mind healthy? What are the things I need to do? What are the things I need to not do? What are the things I need to refrain from in a bid to keep my mind healthy? That is what mental health is about. And the lack of this understanding is why a lot of people today are battling with emotional, attitudinal, and mood issues. The inability to understand the knowledge about mental health is why a lot of people are struggling. So education on mental health will save you a lot of stress. Number one, to say, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Your emotions and your mood are not bad in themselves. They're like a coping mechanism that we're giving in life. Because if you see someone that has no emotions, that person is not really normal. That person is not really normal. So mental health is not about saying you're sick. Mental health is a mind strategy and finding out how you can keep your mind optimal. So that's the introduction for as many of us, that are not aware. So today we're talking about a very important topic. We're saying depression and anxiety. What is it? Am I sentenced to a life of always being depressed or anxious? So let's talk about it. So first of all, being sad or being anxious is not a depression, or it is not having an issue with anxiety. Those emotions are normal emotions. If something sad happens to you, the normal emotion is for you to be sad. If there's something that is bothering you, something real that is bothering you, the normal emotion is to be a little bit anxious. When it becomes a problem is when it lasts for a certain period of time and then you cannot control it. So in the feelings of depression or depressive thoughts or anxiety is a mood disorder. Is a mood disorder, or you can say a mental health disorder. And like I said, that you are feeling sad does not mean you are depressed, because Everybody feels sad. That you're a little bit anxious does not have you have anxiety as a mood disorder because everybody's anxious. It's a normal response. In fact, if you don't feel sad when sad things happen, that's when you're not normal. If you're not anxious when there are certain things to be anxious about, that's when you're normal. So it's normal for you to be sad. It's normal for you to be anxious. When it lasts for consistently for more than 2-3 weeks, when you're consistently sad for more than 2-3 weeks, consistently, it becomes a disorder. That means there's something wrong. And you need to understand what are the symptoms of depression and anxiety. So for depression, the first thing anyone will tell you is that your mood is low. Excuse me. Your mood is low. There's a feeling of hopelessness. It's like a dark cloud. If you could describe it in the physical terms, it's like a dark cloud. There's this feeling of hopelessness, sadness. There's a lack of energy, lack of a desire to even do things you normally do. You don't want to eat, or sometimes you're even overeating. So there's a change in your behavior where, excuse me, you don't want to do or behave the way you used to. You don't have the energy. You have trouble sleeping. Or sometimes you're sleeping too much. It's either you're not sleeping or you're oversleeping. You don't even want to get up. You don't want to take your bath. You don't want to go out. You're just sad. It's just like a consistent sadness. You have trouble thinking or concentrating. Those are the symptoms of depression. Hopelessness, lack of energy, consistent sadness, sad mood, a low mood. A low mood. You know, you don't have the energy to do what. That's depression. And if it's been consistent, it's depressive thoughts. What about anxiety? And I'll tell you why I'm talking about anxiety and depression together, because their symptoms are not the same, but usually their causes are the same. And people that have high levels of depression usually have anxiety and vice versa, but the symptoms are not the same. So I've talked about the symptoms of depression. Let me talk about the symptoms of anxiety. Anxiety, on the other hand, is you're overwhelmed with worry and fear. You're overwhelmed at the thought of something. You're worried, you're afraid, and usually about things that are supposed to happen that are currently happening. Maybe you don't know what the end result will be or is going to happen. So that's anxiety. Anxiety is that you're cranky, you're edgy. Before somebody says something, it's as if your life is out of control. You're fought back because you're just worried. You just feel things are not, they're not going well. So that's anxiety. So you can see that depression is the low mood. Anxiety is worry and fear. So those are the symptoms of depression or depressive thoughts and symptoms of anxiety. So where do they come from? Because for you to overcome, you must first understand. You cannot overcome something if you don't understand what it is or where it's coming from. So you must understand what it is first. So we've talked about what it is. It's a mood disorder. That means it's not supposed to be like that. Please understand that I said it's okay to feel sad. Understand that I said it's okay to be worried at times. Those are natural emotions. But when it's consistent for a period of 2-3 weeks, consistent, then you probably need to check it. So where does it come from? Now, the truth is that mood disorders or emotional disorders do not come from one place. There are various reasons why they are. I'll touch on them and then I'm going to focus on a particular one. So the first thing about a mood disorder or anxiety or depression is genetics. Some people are genetically predisposed to mood disorders. Some people are genetically predisposed to depression and anxiety, according to the experts. So that means if there's someone in your family that has um, these bouts of depression and anxiety. There's a possibility that it's in the genes, and there's a possibility that somebody else in that family can get it. So some of these things come from genetics. Another place it comes from is what the doctors will call chemical imbalance of the brain. It's something that they are still studying to understand. But they have said that they've noticed that when some particular chemicals in the brain are not as they should be, some people's moods change. It affects their moods and it affects their emotions. So that is now a medical and physiological problem. That means it's not as if something happened to you that you're sad. Those people that are clinically depressed, those people that have chemical imbalances, everything around them may be happy and they're still depressed. Everything around them may be peaceful and they're still anxious because that is a chemical imbalance. And it's the same thing for those that are genetically predisposed to it. That is not your environment that has caused this. You just find yourself, I can't snap out of it. It could be genetics, it could be a medical condition. Then the one I'm going to really focus on now is experiences and trauma. A lot or a great percentage of depressive episodes and trauma are caused by, and anxiety are caused by trauma-related incidents. So what is trauma? Trauma is any action, activity that causes you physical or mental pain. Trauma is any physical or mental activity that causes you pain. And the pain could be physical, it could be mental. So if you lose a job, if you lose a relationship, if there is a pandemic in the society, it can cause you to be depressed or anxious. And what we've also noticed in our line of work is that a lot of people have had consistent traumatic experiences, maybe from childhood. Your parents were unnecessarily overbearing. You had an uncle that did something to you, and you've had a consistent pattern of trauma, and you don't know how to handle it. That's why I said at the beginning that we were never taught emotional intelligence. We're never taught emotional strategies, mind strategies. We're taught how to eat the balanced diet. We're taught how to take care of our environment, wash our clothes, clean our rooms, brush our teeth. We're taught how to work hard, go to school. We were never taught about our minds. But here's the funny thing. Your brain is the engine room for everything that you do. Your brain is the engine room for everything that you're going to become. The way you perceive and understand life is a function of your brain. And as a lot of us as Africans and as Nigerians, even a lot of us around the world, we're never taught how to keep our brains healthy. We were never taught about emotional regulation. We were never taught about moods. We were never taught. So if you are someone that certain negative things have happened to you down the line and you did not heal from them adequately, you may find that your immunity to stress is very low. And what this means is that as more negative things happen, you do not have the ability to cope anymore because you've been having traumatic incidents after traumatic incidents and you've not learned how to cope. So it's like it's weighing on you daily. And you've gotten to a point that even someone says hello, you're already edgy. It's as if you have been battered and bastardized by issues of life. And because you never understood that there is a strategy for the mind, it's gotten to a point now that you cannot even cope. Any little thing, they say price of fuel is 1,000, you're already shaking. So depression and anxiety can come from your experiences that you've had. I talked about it comes from genetics. It comes from chemical imbalance in the brain. It comes from the situation around you, experiences you've had. And a lot of us have had negative experiences. And because some of us don't know how to heal, and some of these things are real life issues, like maybe loss of a loved one. You see, grief is a natural, an incident that causes great depression. However, while nobody is belittling the grief, if you do not even have the understanding of how to grieve, it can totally overtake your life. There's nothing wrong in grieving because the natural response to maybe a loss is grief, and to grieve. But there's still, there's a way you can grieve and still live a fulfilled life. Have you noticed that there are a lot of white people or Western people, when they lose a loved one, they start foundations and things in their name? It's a process of grieving. But some of us have never learned the process of grieving. We've never learned the process of overcoming trauma. We've never learned it. And so our mind has taken a beating. And we've gotten to the point that we don't know why we're always shaky, why we're always cranky, why we're always depressed. And I'm here to tell you the reason is because of consistent trauma. Even as an African, as a Nigerian, there's something called collective trauma. When you are in a society that negative things are happening, you know that some things are called generational trauma. Generational trauma is like maybe you see the way the Black Americans are reacting to the fact that they were slaves. It's generational. It has been passed from generation to generation. So these things can cause anxiety and depression if people do not know how to manage them. And there's some other things that can, even if you have financial issues, there are so many things that situation around you that causes you to be depressed and anxious. Another thing you should understand, and this is very critical, if you are taking certain medications, we're talking about where do feelings of anxiety and depression come from. If you're taking certain medications, or even if you are ill, you may not realize that the sickness is what is causing you to feel sad. And have you noticed that if you now take medication for that, maybe you have malaria or something, and the moment you start getting better, your mood improves. So sometimes you think, I'm depressed. It might just be that you're not feeling well. It might be a side effect of a drug. Some drugs make you edgy. Some drugs make you depressed. Some drugs make your mood to change. And sometimes they are written there, so you can check it and you can ask your doctor if you're on any medication. It can be the cause of why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And there's something called hormonal changes as well, especially for women. When it's your time of the month. And sometimes even when have you heard of postpartum depression? When women have just had a baby, their hormones are, a bit all over the place and they're depressed. So talking about where depression comes from or anxiety, where it comes from is, first of all, genetics. Some people are more predisposed to others in having mood disorders. It could be brain chemical imbalance in the brain, where they notice that there's something that some of the chemicals in the brain are not as they should be. And then your experiences, you've had bad experiences, you've had traumatic experiences, especially if you have had different negative experiences, failed relationships, you lost a job, your finances have taken a beating, you were sick. And those things have accumulated to the point that your tolerance level is at a low. Your tolerance level is at a low. So these are the things that can cause you to have depressive thoughts and anxiety. It could also be drugs. Maybe you're taking certain medications. It could cause it. And it could also be hormonal changes. So those are the causes. Those are the causes. I'm going to, in talking about, so what can be done? First of all, understand that you feel like this doesn't mean you've been sentenced to a lifetime of this. You have not. There's help. There's help. And that's why I said in the beginning that, when we were growing up in Africa, Nigeria, we were never taught mind strategies. We were never taught how to understand and manage our emotions. We're never taught. And if we were, a lot of us probably will not be where we are today in terms of how we feel, how our emotions are. But the good news is that there is help. There is help in making sure you're better and that you live an optimal life. There is help. Now, for everything I have mentioned, they have different, ways you can manage it. So I mentioned the fact that genetics and chemical imbalances, they have treatments for it. However, I want you to understand that what we're doing today, which is psychotherapy, is what every of this, wherever it comes from, they will always ask you, you need psychotherapy. So let me tell you what psychotherapy is. If you, let me liken it to something. So even if it is a genetic issue, even if it is a chemical imbalance issue, if it is a drug issue, if it is a hormonal issue, if it is an experiences issue, what will happen is that even if they're going to give you some medication, your doctor will tell you you need psychotherapy. So this is what psychotherapy is. You know, you can do if someone has an accident and they have a physical injury, for instance, their leg is hurt. There was a strain or a sprain in their leg. When they administer the treatment, they go through physical therapy. So in as much as they've given them medication, they've given them whatever intervention, they will tell them you need to learn how to walk. That's what psychotherapy is. That is what we're doing today. That no matter what the cause, no matter what the treatment is, your doctor will say you need therapy in terms of seeing someone that you can talk to and can help you. So what psychotherapy is that it cuts across every single aspect, even if it is genetics, even if it is a chemical imbalance, therapy can help. Psychotherapy and talk therapy can help. So I want to go into how we can manage it, because I've talked about what it is, where it comes from, the symptoms of it, and let's talk about how we can manage it. Does anybody want to make a comment, say anything before I go into how we can manage it? You can send a chat. You want to say something, because this is Unburden, and if you want, yes. So iPhone, Charlotte's hand is raised. Can you unmute your mic and then say what you want to say?
Okay, thanks for this. Thanks for this talk. I also think my contribution will be also one of the, should I say, causes for anxiety, that I see is lack of sleep, adequate sleep. And I see that a lot in Nigeria with our bus drivers. So when I see them driving, I make way. Because when you don't sleep well, 2 days, you're going to get so anxious for nothing. So lack of adequate sleep, because you sleep, but it's not adequate, or you are sleeping, your mind is working. Lack of sleep, one of the causes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, lack of sleep and stress. Someone says, I can relate so much to what you're saying. I've had series of trauma myself. Stress, yes. Stress can cause it. And if you are not able to manage these things, it can lead to an actual mental health issue. So the stress or the sleeplessness, they're all, the stressful lifestyles and all that. But if you don't understand that you need to manage it, then it can turn to something that you no longer are able to manage. So let's go to what can we do? How can we overcome? We're now at a point, and this is for people that have at a point that you have unchecked anxiety and depressive thoughts. What can you do? So the first thing is to investigate and heal from past traumas. So there are some people today, the reason why you are edgy, the reason why your mood is low is there's something that has happened that you have not checked it. You know that statement, time heals, is not true. Okay, I'm going to answer that question. So just remind me at the end. So how do you differentiate stress from sadness? That statement that time heals is not true. It doesn't heal everything. And let me tell you why. So there was a particular incident that I was privy to, and about a particular lady. So this lady walked into the supermarket. I think I've said this story before. Walked into the supermarket and had an altercation with one of the attendants at the supermarket. And then she got angry. She started raising her voice. So the managers in the supermarket came in and tried to intervene, to say, oh, we're sorry, what happened? And she kept on shouting. So at a point in time, the person I was telling me about the story is someone that is in the medical field, said this lady had snapped. The altercation was just a trigger. She had snapped. And even though the lady in question had apologized, all the managers had apologized, she couldn't stop screaming. She had snapped. There was another story I tell people that there was a particular lady that she had an accident, and I think it was a public transport, and people died in the bus. Some people died, but she survived. And this is like 5, 6 years later. She has not been able to enter a public transport again. So do not think that, oh, I'm free. This happened, but I'm fine. You need to be sure that you're fine, because it can show itself in ways that you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. So time doesn't always heal if you do not ensure that you. So investigate your past traumas, and you need to heal from them. And that is a topic on its own, because how you can heal from it is a topic on its own. But I need you to understand that your anxiety and depression could be from childhood trauma, the way your parents treated you. So anybody that has a similitude of what your parents did triggers trauma and anxiety in you. You know that there's some people that you lost a job and you don't realize that losing a job is traumatic till you get another job and you find out that you're always on edge. That's when you realize that I actually did not heal from the fact that I was sacked or I lost a job. You think that it's just okay, I've gotten another job, everything is fine. No, everything's not fine, because you find yourself having some irrational behaviors in the new job. You feel everybody's out for you. Before they say anything, you say, hey, I hope you're not going to sack me. It's a trauma response. You haven't healed. So you need to, find out, is there anything in my past that when it comes up, it gives me, things to talk about. So those are the things that you need to understand when you want to overcome anxiety and depression. Is there anything I need to heal from? And the next thing I would say is, what are your triggers? There are some situations that you are in that immediately you start feeling anxious. There are some situations you're in, immediately your mood is low. What are those triggers? Can you identify it? So there was a particular, and the funny, the triggers may be consistent triggers, but it might just be a one-off. But something is triggering it. And if you can find out what triggered it, whether it's a consistent trigger or not, you're on a path to being better. So let me give you another example. I was talking to someone recently, and the person said, I don't know why I'm anxious. I'm edgy. I was like, okay, let's talk about it. What happened to you today? So the person recounted their day and said this. So I said, but there's nothing. I said, what about yesterday? And the person started thinking about what happened yesterday. And the person now realized that they got a news. That was yesterday. This was more than 24 hours later, yesterday. And the news troubled them. This news and what happened went into their subconscious, but they were anxious. So by the time we now pinpointed the fact that it was this thing that triggered it, we now began to unravel the questions. Okay, what did they say? Okay, they said this. Why are you upset because they said it? Why are you worried because they said it? Can we get professional opinion on this? And because they were able to pinpoint the trigger, and then we were able to discuss the trigger, the anxiety level went down. So there are sometimes you are triggered by something. There are sometimes that things trigger. You might be even hear that you've heard that they've increased the price of fuel. And you don't know that that is the trigger to your anxiety or your depression. Something may trigger it. And there are some people that there's a consistent trigger. Some people, their family members are triggers. I've heard of situations where people have told me, whenever I go and see this my uncle or this my aunt, whenever with this my cousin, they make me feel less than. So being in stressful situations or can be a trigger. Family dynamics can be a trigger. So you need to say how to identify the trigger so you can manage it. And just for what Auntie Charlotte said, another thing is learn how to manage stress. And just like triggers, can you remove yourself from there? Because stress, stress is a kind of physiological and mental health issue that can cause physical sickness. Apart from the fact it can cause you mental health issues, it can cause you depression and anxiety. It can actually make you physically sick. So your stress points, can you walk away? And I know it's not easy to always walk away from stress points. So I'm only talking to those that can walk away from some stress points. Walk away. And then when you cannot walk away, set boundaries. So setting boundaries for yourself is like, I'm not going to have this conversation. I'm not going to do this with you. If you begin to yell, for instance, I'm going to walk away. You need to set boundaries. If you cannot remove yourself from a stress point, you need to set boundaries for yourself. This is what is causing you to be anxious and depressed. So identify your triggers. Heal from past traumas and learn to manage stress. When you're managing stress, there's something called healthy coping mechanisms and unhealthy coping mechanisms. A bottle of beer is not a healthy coping mechanism for stress. Taking these pills that make you sleep or rest are not healthy coping mechanisms for stress. Social media is not a healthy coping mechanism for stress, but I'll come to that later. Healthy coping mechanisms is taking a walk. Healthy coping mechanisms is picking up a phone and calling a friend, a trusted friend, singing a song, talking to someone. Prayer is a healthy coping mechanism because it's talking, and talk is therapy. So in trying to manage stress, I need to see that. Now, there's a part I want to come to, which is very critical. You have to unlearn negative and destructive thought patterns and relearn new ones. It's called mental mind strategies, mental or mind strategies. How to exercise your mind and your brain. How to reframe your cognitive distortions. So I want to dwell on that for a few minutes because it's very important. So a cognitive distortion is an irrational way of thinking. So one of the examples of a cognitive distortion is mind reading. And it's very important that if you want to overcome depression and anxiety, you need to think about what you're thinking about. Joyce Meyers wrote a book. Joyce Meyers is a Christian author, that the battlefield of the mind. You need to think about it. So at the beginning, I said, unfortunately, we were never taught mind strategies as children. So let me tell you what a mind strategy is. You need to understand that there are some unhelpful ways of thinking. So I was talking about mind reading. So a man comes home after a tired day at work, and his wife says, welcome. And he says, oh, thank you. And he was quiet. Usually he's not quiet. As she begins to say, I'm sure he's doing that because there's another woman or there's a side chick or he's cheating on me. I'm sure he's doing that because something is wrong. You're not a mind reader. You don't know what is in his mind. And the more you mind read, the more you are depressed. The more you mind read, the more you are anxious. Those are cognitive distortions. They are irrational ways of thinking. You are not a mind reader. You're not a mind reader. What of there's another one they call apart from mind it's called cognitive distortion, is catastrophizing. Everything is a catastrophe. Your relative says, so I'm going to be traveling from XY to XY, and in your mind you have seen all the accidents. That is not a normal way of life. Everything's a catastrophe to you. What of mental filtering? Mental filtering is that I can tell you 10 good things, and then I tell you one slightly negative one, and the only one you remember is the negative one. Is a cognitive distortion. It's not a right way of thinking. So your boss has given you an assignment, and he said, well done, you did the assignment well, but there's a little improvement. When you go home, it is the little improvement that he said that is the only one you can remember. It's a cognitive distortion, and it will make you depressed and anxious because you're not thinking well. So I want to show you something. And another thing is that I want to show you something in a minute. You see, in life, let me tell you the way we see life, a lot of us, the way we reason and see life, is that I wake up in the morning, I brushed my teeth, I took my bath, I maybe went out, I did something. They seem insignificant. Those are just normal things. And maybe I drove to work, came back. The next day I did the same thing. By the third day, I have a flat tire. I am now upset that I had a flat tire. It's a big thing. Or maybe every day I talk to this person, and today, for whatever reason, I can't reach the person. It's a big thing. Now, you need to understand that those things that you were saying are insignificant. Maybe it just happened. It's like I brushed my teeth. I went to use the bathroom. Those things, they seem kind of insignificant. But here's the thing, anything that is insignificant, the absence of it must also be insignificant. So if you think that brushing of your teeth is insignificant, the day you cannot brush your teeth, I hope that will be insignificant as well. But if the day you cannot brush your teeth is significant, that means brushing your teeth has been significant. If getting out of bed is insignificant, that means the day you cannot get out of bed is also insignificant. But if that the fact that you cannot get out of bed is a significant part of life, that means getting out of bed is something significant. But you see, when you come back from work and they say, how was your day? Exactly. So we realize the importance when we lose it. How was your day? Do you know you don't say, oh, I am grateful I was able to brush my teeth. I was grateful I was able to brush my hair. I was grateful I was able to take a bath. I was grateful that I was able to smell. Grateful that I was able to see. I'm grateful that I have hair. I thought it was like, because in your mind, those things are just everyday things till you lose it, like she said. So I want to show you something that will help you a great deal with depression and anxiety, because I'm trying to give you a mind hack and a mental strategy the way you see life. Because a lot of us on this call are maybe from Nigeria. And, I was talking to people on a TV show, on a radio TV show. And when I was trying to talk to them about mental health, I was like, oh, and strategies for living a fulfilled life. They talked about, Nada, you don't understand what is going on in Nigeria. I understand. But if you have the wrong mindset, you will be depressed while other people are moving on. So I want to show you something and then we'll talk about it, because I want to give you strategies to boost your mind. So can you see this picture? Can anybody see this picture? Just tell me yes if you can see this picture. Can I hear a yes? Because I can't really see all the chats now. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes,
yes, the picture.
There's white ball now, with one red ball.
Beautiful. So this red ball is a symbol of something negative that happens to you in your day. All the white balls are the everyday things, the brushing of your hair, the brushing of your teeth, the going to work, to talking to your friends, wake up and you tell your family member good morning, are those white balls. So when most of us, this is how life is. The red ball is always big and imposing, and the white balls are small and they're just there. So the problem is that at the end of the day, when they ask you, how was your day? It is the red ball. That is that one negative thing or two negative things that you remember. You do not remember look at around the red ball. Like hundreds of significant things that happen because they seem insignificant to you. So you focus more on this red ball, and that's how a lot of us reason. In fact, there was a time that my one of my children, I told her that when she comes from school and she says, oh, this happened. I told her that before you tell me one negative thing, you need to give me 3 positive things that have happened in school. And then when you say that one negative one, before you say another one, you have to give me 3 more positive things, because we need to hack the mind to understand that we cannot focus on this alone, because there are thousands of positive things that are happening to us. We can see, we can smell, we have teeth. I have a few people on this call that are physically impaired. If you have a conversation with them, you will now understand that the fact that you have eyebrows and the fact that you have ears and nose is a thing of significance, but you don't see it like that. So let me show you something else, another picture. Just a minute. I'll show you something else and then we'll talk about it. Just a minute. Let's show you. I just want to show you something else and then we'll talk. Okay. So this is another image. Can you see the image? Can we see this image? Now, this image is putting your life in perspective. that there are different things that are happening to me, but they are significant. That's why it is the same size as the Red Bull. They are significant. So when I look back at my day, I will also see that this 400-500 good things happen to me. I'm not just focused on the one negative thing. You are teaching your mind that it is not happy or sad situationally alone. You must train yourself to have the right mental perspective to everything. You know, there was a friend of mine that left the country a few years ago. And you know the usual conversations about Nigeria, the fact that I can't stand this country is this, and the person had a lot of things to complain about. So they relocated. But what they didn't understand was that the relocation was not going to change their mood. So I saw them again a few years ago, and they had a lot of things to complain about the country that they're in. Because you need to realize that you need to train your mind to be able to perceive life in a particular, you need to unlearn some certain things. Have you seen single people that have said, once I get married, all my life will be better? And when they get married, it's as if it is worse. Because they thought that the very situation of marriage, well, what was going to heal their mind, but it's not. It's not. You need to begin to unlearn some things and relearn something. So this second image is saying, for every negative thing that is making you depressed, and for every negative thing that is making you anxious, you have over 500 positive things that you have forgotten about. It is only when those things are absent that you begin to realize their significance. The fact that little things, I have nails on my hand. And you see, that is why the Bible talks a lot about giving thanks. The Bible talks a lot about being grateful, right? But we didn't realize that it was a mind hack. We did not realize that the scriptures was giving us a mind hack. It was teaching us how we needed to live our lives. We didn't realize it. It's a mind hack. Because if you don't get that truth, you can be in the most luxurious life. You are saying now, I don't have money, Nigeria is bad. Believe me, if you do not get your mind right, you can be with all the money in the world and you're still depressed. Because depression is not always about the situation. It's like, okay, let me take this question. Go ahead. You can unmute your mic and talk. Let me take this question. I'll take the other one. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Shola, and I was listening to a documentary, and somebody gave an example, and it was like a light moment, bulb went off in my head. And the example was, what if I gave you a glass of water? And I peed in the glass of water, and I asked you to drink it. Would you drink it? The person said no. And the man said, why? What if I add a little bit of sugar? I've sweetened the water. Would you drink it? The person said no. The man said, what if I add some ice? And maybe if you're a drinker, I put a bit, a shot of brandy in it. Would you drink it? And the man said no. The person asking the question said, why? And the man said, because you've peed in it. And he's trying to say that is, at times, that is how your mind works, because no matter the good things, sugar, if you like whiskey, ice, something to even purify the water that I've put in that cup, because I've not removed the pee, you cannot drink it. And I think for a lot of us, I was just laughing that how are they attacking me today? Because at times would that be correct to say exaggerate? But the red balls in our lives, it seems like it's so big. It seems like you almost don't care about the other good things. I'll give myself an example, which I've spoken to people about. I've spoken to my sister about. Everybody, to me, they're advising me, but they're trying to shut me down. When I say, oh, I'm 49, I'm going to be 50 in January, I've not achieved this, I've not achieved that. And I go on and on and on about the things I have not achieved. And even though these people try, even though they're not in my life, the ones they've seen, they say, but you have a child, but you are healthy. Your child is healthy. You are not homeless. You eat well. I don't want to see it though. It is that red ball that is in my head. Do you know it is as bad as it waking me up? Like yesterday, I woke up so sad and I'm like, if God was human, this man would slap me. Because it's as if I can almost not accept or appreciate the good things going on in my life because this red ball that seems so large, you know. So my question is, how? And in my head, I kept saying, "But there's pee in my cup. But there's pee in my cup." Yes, you've put ice in it. Yes, you've put sugar in it. Yes, the glass you've put the water in is crystal clear. But there's pee in my cup. How do I remove? So how do we maintain sanity, happiness, joy? How do we deal with that red ball? That red
Thank
ball
you.
that seems like that's the first thing you will see in that big
Yeah,
picture.
yeah,
You won't see any white
absolutely.
ball. That red ball is what you see. How do we
How
deal
do
with
we
that?
handle it? So let me give you a response. Human beings have a default negative bias.
Mhm.
You know what's a default negative bias? We gravitate to negative things, even negative stories on media. We seem to enjoy it more than positive. We don't know the
Useful.
damage it is doing. We gravitate towards seeing the red ball more than we are the positive. So that is why, just the way as if you are born, you were not taught to sweep, to brush your teeth, to take your bath. It's the same. You won't be doing it today. So Shola, you were never taught how to take care of your mind. And that is why you have arrived today and you don't know how to manage it. So it is not a one day talking that is going to change that. It is your saying, I realize that there's an issue. So I need to be strategic. It could be like the way I told with my child, I said, before you tell me one negative thing, I need you to give me 3 positive things. So you need to tell yourself, even if it's like, I'm going to start journaling positive things in my life and start reading them every day. It's a mind hack. You know, I told about neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is that your brain is now in a particular, like you, Shola, at this your age, your default is that I've seen a red ball. For you to change that is not one day. Because you are unlearning almost 50 years of learning. You are trying to unlearn it 50 years of learning to think and reason in a particular way. It's not going to be one day. But if you are consistent, eventually you will start seeing dividends of change. We were never taught. We were never taught. We never taught how to heal from trauma. We were never taught how to exercise our mind. We were never taught. So a lot of us have landed as adults and we're just stabbing in the dark. We do not even know what is controlling, why our emotions are so big. We don't understand it because we're never taught. And that is why there's a prevalence of mental health issues. People don't even understand that they are battling childhood trauma. They are battling teenage trauma. They are battling negative conversations. There are so many things, they don't realize it. So that's just it. That's just it. So this, what I've just explained, is something like maybe like a gratitude project. Do you know that psychologists talk about gratitude as, so gratitude and kindness is a mood booster. So let me tell you why. When you are given an antidepressant, if someone is clinically depressed and they're given an antidepressant, one of the chemicals in this depressant is dopamine or serotonin. When you practice gratitude, you release natural dopamine and serotonin in your brain. When you practice gratitude, you are releasing natural dopamine and serotonin in your brain. So let me continue then. We'll take it. So we need to unlearn a lot of things. We have to unlearn the way we have been seeing life. It's very important. And learn new things. And I talked about gratitude as a mood booster. There's something that the Bible says, a merry heart does good like medicine. A merry heart, the Bible says a merry heart does good like medicine. But You see, the thing is, when the Bible says a merry heart, it's not talking about go to social media and start laughing. When you talk about a merry heart, it's not talking about saying, oh, I'm going to go out with my friends and have drinks. You know what? When you do that, it's like you're putting a plaster on a broken leg. Before you go to social media and laugh, because social media is not the solution. Laughing is good. You need to heal. You need to unlearn. Then you can now laugh and then you can have the drinks. But a lot of us, we look at handling depression and anxieties. Let me go and hang out with my friends. That's not the solution, because all of us that will be hanging around with our friends, has it helped us? All of us that have been on social media laughing, has it made our moods better? No. It can even make it worse if you're not careful. So please understand that you need to heal from past trauma. You need to heal. And then you need to unlearn some very negative ways of perceiving life. You cannot be perceiving life from a negative bias. That is, you see, when the Bible says something, and I always go back to the Bible because the Bible teaches a lot of on management and mental health. When the Bible says, be grateful and in all things give thanks, it's because God knows that it's not going to be easy. If it was going to be easy, it would have been an instruction. He knows that we're going to battle with gratitude. He knows that we're going to battle with these things. And that is why he said, you need to do it, because he's giving you a mind hack. He's giving you a mental health strategy. It is. And another thing I would say is, check your environment. You are an accumulation of what you see and what you hear and who you hang out with. You cannot be consuming information that is negative and you think you'll be positive. It doesn't work like that. You need to be intentional about allowing positive information into your life. If I go on social media, there are certain parts of social media that is talking, it's good news when they talk about people being reunited with loved ones, people passing exams. I like those kind of clips. You see, the one that this person did this to his wife, or this politician did this, they may be funny, but at the end of the day, your brain is taking a beating. So please intentionally gravitate towards uplifting stories and information. The Bible says that whatever is true, whatever is good, if it is of good report, it says dwell on those things. That's a mind hack. That's a mind hack. You cannot be watching what's this one on DSTV? This drama that what is our local dramas where they're always killing their husbands or wife. You cannot be consuming those kind of literature and you think you will trust your husband or your wife. You can't. You are allowing things into your mind that is negatively impacting your mind. So you are an accumulation of who you spend your time with. So if you're going to overcome anxiety and depression, check your circle of friends. Check the information. Check the quality of the information that you are allowing yourself to be part of. Check it. Check it. And then talk is therapy. Another thing is that you can look for a trusted person to talk to. Look for someone you trust. It could be you'll be a therapist. A lot of people talk about, I don't need therapist. If I have money, I won't have problems. You know, there's a program is called Rich Also Cry. It's not true. If you is one of the best in the world, but the ratio of suicide is also the highest. So quality of life is not a buffer for depression. Money is not a buffer for depression. Like I said, like you said about the tainted water, no matter what, if you do not get your mind right, they can put you in the middle of all the money in the world, and you will even be more depressed than you were when you didn't have money. So I know that there's this general perception for all of us in Nigeria that we're all looking for breakthrough. That if I can have money, I'm okay. It is not the solution. Like you said, if there's a tainted mind, you will go into that place of money, you go into that marriage, you will go into that, and you are still negative. So people were thinking that if I can just get married, if I can just have a child, if I can just do this, my life, and they now have those things and they're still depressed. So these are some of the things you need to do. So talk is therapy. You can pray. Psychologists are now seeing the benefits of prayer. Because what they will do is that they will help you based on your own belief system. So they realize that for a lot of people that are Christians or religious, when they pray, their levels of depression and anxiety is mitigated because prayer is talk. You are talking about the problem. Talk about it. Don't keep quiet. You can journal, write. Just don't leave it in your head. The longer it's in your head, the worse it seems. The moment you speak it out, it begins to diminish in its potency. So talk about it. Talk about it. And then the final thing I'm going to say is stay healthy. Stay healthy. There are some food that if you take too much of it, it actually makes you feel your mood low. You know when you take a lot of sugar, you're edgy. So there are some foods that actually make you a little bit, your mood is low, you're anxious. So stay healthy, exercise, stay healthy. And then the final thing, I think I mentioned, I talked about kindness, is purpose. You see, when you are in the place of doing something that gives you fulfillment, it helps you to combat depression. You need to find purpose. You need to find something that gives your life meaning. You need to live outside yourself for a while. Think about somebody else. Nathaniel Bassey posted something on his Instagram yesterday. He said, I was just standing outside my house, and all of a sudden I saw this person trying to take food from the dustbin. And he was like, why are you doing this? I'm sure some people must have watched it. And the man said, I'm just looking for something to eat. I'm just looking for something to eat. And Nasaleba said he wept and wept. Because he was like, look at me. I'm sure I had a myriad of things to complain about. This man is ready to take food from the dustbin because he had nothing to eat. Kindness, like gratitude, is a mood booster. Purpose is a mood booster. If you enjoy cooking, singing, and you do those things consistently, it elevates your mood. It elevates your mood. So I'm going to give a quick recap, and then I think I'll go to the questions. I want to just give a quick recap. And okay, I'm just looking for my slides here to give a quick recap of what we've talked about today. So just a minute. Yeah, just a quick recap. So the first thing is to understand and overcome anxiety and depression. And I said, you need to learn about emotions, feelings, and how to manage them. We were never taught. It's time to learn. It's time to learn that I need to manage my feelings. I need to understand them. And I need to know how they can work for me. And I talked about what depression is and what anxiety is. I said depression is low mood, sadness, hopelessness. Anxiety is fear, worry, inability to reason rationally. And I said these feelings of sadness and anxiety are normal emotions, but when they have been consistent for over 2-3 weeks continuously, it's a problem. And I also said, where does depression and anxiety come from? I said genetics, chemical imbalances, traumatic events, and the lack of mind and emotional intelligence, because you just don't understand how the mind works. And then how do you overcome? You have to heal from past traumas. You have to identify the triggers or the trigger. Something happened. Identify it, investigate it, talk about it. Manage stress. Manage stress. Manage stress. Unlearn to relearn. Unlearn wrong ways of thinking. Maybe your mind reading or you mental filtering. You can only remember negative things. You can't remember positive things. You have to unlearn cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are irrational ways of thinking. You have to unlearn them and relearn how, like the red and the red and white balls. The significant things. I have eyebrow, I have eyelash, I have nose, mouth. They are significant because the absence of it for one day, you will now realize it has always been significant. I was the one that made it insignificant. And that is why I'm only seeing the negative things as significant. Reframe unsubstantiated negative thoughts. Who says you are a failure? Just because you fail does not make you a failure. Who says you are ugly? Where does the definition of beauty come from? Who says that? So answer Shola, who says what you should be at age 50 or 40. Who says, who brought those parameters? Why is it bothering you? Who gave you those parameters? So you need to reframe it and say, I'm fine. There are some people that at 20 years old that they are billionaires, and there are people that are 20 years old that are in their parents' houses. Life is in different stages and phases for people. I'm fine. Within my own sphere, I'm fine. Be intentional about your mind, about mind issues. Be intentional. Learn, seek knowledge. And then talk is therapy. Talk is therapy. I can't overemphasize it. Pray about it. Look for a trusted friend, uncle, aunt, or you can talk to a psychotherapist. A lot of them will give you pro bono sessions to say, I'm going to talk to you for free. Stay healthy, eat healthy, and then find purpose. Find something that gives your life meaning. Step out of your own head and out of your own life and say, can I help somebody? If you're cooking, cook for people. If you can sing, sing. Go to church and sing. If you make hair, whatever it is that gives you joy, whatever it is that your purpose, put some kind of skill acquisition to that, make it something of value. And that will be of great help for you. Thank you so much. I want to go to the questions quickly and see if there's anyone I have not taken. It said how to manage it. I think I've answered, and so yes, time to realize the importance. Someone asked about stress and tiredness. So tiredness is a normal feeling when you have exerted. Sorry, yes, Auntie, I'm coming just in a minute. It's a normal feeling when you have exerted yourself. Stress is an emotional issue. If you are tired, when you rest, you will be fine. If you are stressed, even in resting, your mind is not at peace. That is the difference. So if you're tired, if you go and rest, if you stop doing what you're doing, you usually will rejuvenate and you're fine. But stress is that even you're sleeping, your mind is still active. That is stress. That is stress. Ebuka, do you know what? Do you want to unburden here, or maybe you want to talk to me privately? So Miriam, can you chat Ebuka privately and then give him that number and say whether we can chat privately? Because I have something I want to unburden. Someone said I usually ghost and avoid people, especially when I'm faced with pressure, and this is affecting my ability to sustain relationships. What can I do to stop this habit? So the question is, why did you start ghosting people? Why do you feel that avoidance is necessary? We need to get why. Because the reason why there is usually therapy is because I cannot give blanket answers to situations I don't understand. There's a reason why you feel the need to avoid people. I don't know that reason. When we can get that reason is when we can begin to treat it, and then we can maybe understand why you're doing it and make it better. So I cannot give you a response because there are a series of questions I have to ask you. You have used avoidance as a coping mechanism for something. Maybe you're afraid of something. Maybe you're afraid of confrontation. Maybe somebody has hurt you in the past and you don't want to be rejected. So you prefer to avoid than to confront. That may be, I don't know. Because I don't know, you have not spoken to you. I cannot give you a direct response now. But those could be it. There's something that triggered you. There's something that caused you to feel I need to avoid people. And that's why you do. So we need to get to the root of that. And then for Ebuka, Miriam, can you please kindly send him a direct message and send him a phone number? Yes, all things give thanks. Yes. Yes. Take a break, breathe. Yes. Yes. But when you're dealing with deep psychological issues, you need to heal. You need to understand them and you need to heal. Sorry, Auntie Charlotte, can you go ahead? You raised your hand. You wanted to say something.
No, I think someone already said what I was going to say, but above all, in whatever we are doing, let's begin to think of the what if rather than what is. Is a message my pastor preached in church some years ago, about a year ago, and it has helped me greatly. Some of us complain about our husbands, our children, our age, and the things we've not been able to achieve. Let's begin to say, what if I were a widow? What if this man died? What if I did not have a child? What if I never attained 50? When you begin to think of the what if, you begin to appreciate what is, and then you are less stressed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to add to that is to say everything you have now, nothing is insignificant. If you have 5, 10 fingers. It is the day that one finger is not there, you now realize I was blessed when I had 10 fingers. Things that you think, I can sit down, I can stand up, I can move my hand, I can, hey. Someone said for me, no matter what the issue is, identify and name our blessings. You need to, gratitude is a mood booster. It is a mood booster. Let me tell you something. If you go to a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist table, now I say you are depressed, the exercise they will give you is that they will teach you how to identify things to be grateful for. Because depression comes with a sense of hopelessness. Hopelessness is that I don't have any reason of living. So if they can get your mind to begin to understand so many things that you should be alive and happy about, it can change the perspective that is making you feel negative. That is what any psychotherapist will help you to do. So Alan said you still have time. Take advantage of that and strategically take advantage of the available time. Count your blessings, name them one by one. It will surprise you what the Lord. Absolutely, 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 absolutely. So check if you have past traumas you need to heal from. Check your triggers. What is triggering you? Sometimes you need to run away from those triggers. Run away from those people if you can. Unlearn negative ways of seeing life, like the white balls that were insignificant to the big red ball. But when you change it, you now see that you have so many white balls that are just as significant as the red. It's just that you don't notice them. You are a accumulation of what you consume and who you are around. You cannot be consuming negativity and think you'll be positive or think that you will not have anxiety or depression. So check the things you consume. Check the people that you're around. Check it. Be healthy. Eat right. A diet of processed food cannot give you a peaceful mind. Take fruits, take vegetables, exercise, and then find purpose. If it is more than what this kind of conversations can handle, you need to seek help. You need to seek help. So, Miriam, can you please put the social media handles again? And then for Ebuka, you can always please reach out to him and then we can talk. But you need to seek help. Therapy is not a stigma, it's a solution. It's a solution. It's a solution. I heard about a Ghanaian singer that took his life. And usually when they write those suicide messages, they normally say things, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. I've shamed you and all that. And this kind of things they're saying, if they've had a conversation, we could have unpacked those things and find out, is it really something that is worth ending your life? Can we talk about it? Can we see life from a different lens so that we can see reasons that this thing can actually be surmounted and we can continue? Alan says, be grateful for the gift of life and time. Submit them afresh to the owner of your soul and watch. He will do something. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being on this session of Unburden. Thank you. I as much as we can. Miriam, is Miriam there? Uche, is Miriam there? If you check the chats, Miriam would have put, our social media handles. You can send me topics you want us to talk about. You can send private chats and things that you want us to talk about more.